Welcome to the podcast. I'm Scott McLean. I'm recording this episode from my home studio, as you'll see, and I always say, I really like my home studio better than my I have to go to studio, because that's traveling. This is walking, and I like that better. But yeah, thanks for joining me. My guests this week are Andrea Sok. Andrea is a nonprofit fractional CMO. I know. We're going to get to that. Trust me. The first question I asked to it, okay, what's that? And along with Allison is Andrea. I knew I was going to do that. I'm not even going to edit this out because I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot, right? It's called trying too hard at times. Andrea Sok and Blake Allison. Blake is the founder of LifeSense. And under LifeSense, there is a part called VetCents, and we're going to get into that. And it's relative to veterans, so of course, that's why they're here. So, all right. With all that said, how you guys doing today?
Great.
Fantastic.
Good?
You?
All right. Aside from that little mess up, I don't care. I've been doing this for a while. I think I can afford to mess up every once in a while. Well, I probably do it more than I'm supposed to. But okay. I don't edit a lot, so we go with it. All right, let's get right into this. Andrea.
Yes.
Explain to the audience what a nonprofit fractional CMO is.
Sure. I like to think of it as your best kind of part-time hire. So nonprofits are notorious for having limited budgets and trying to always do more with less. So fractional, whether it's a fractional CMO, fractional CFO, or fractional anything, you're getting the executive level expertise at a fraction of the cost. So they're generally working with you on a part-time basis. And it could be that they work so many hours a week, or that they are filling in on a short-term, finite amount of time. So I've worked with nonprofits where their head of marketing and communications was on medical leave, and so they needed somebody to come in and work with them for that period of time, or a parental leave, or maybe they're hiring for a new person and they don't want to leave the position open while they go through this long hiring process. But they don't want to commit to somebody that they're not going to hire full time. So it's me coming in, working with you on your marketing communications on a part-time basis or a short-term basis, and doing more than just what I would say a junior hire does. So you can bring on somebody junior for probably the same amount of time, same amount of money, and they're working with you full time, but they're just executing. And we're talking about strategy, we're talking about long-term planning. So I'm bringing that to you at a fraction of the cost.
So Let me ask you this. You say my nonprofit has a marketing person. We'll say like a junior social media person or something, right? And they go on maternity leave, or they go on a long vacation. And I bring you in. Now, how does that transition into what they've already been doing, as opposed to you coming in and do you get the background on what they've been doing and and how does that affect when they come back? Like how are those two
transition period? Yeah, ideally. So I recently worked with a nonprofit in Texas, and the person went on parental leave. She was having a baby. And so I was able to get in and work with her before she left. And then we overlapped for a week when she came back. So ideally, we'd have those bookends where we could work together so everything is seamless. And you as a CEO or anyone in the nonprofit doesn't know that there was that transition. Right. That's not always the case. Again, people go on emergency medical leave and the position's vacant for a couple of weeks. And I've come in and kind of just have to hunt and peck and figure things out. I've done it both ways, but ideally, yes, we'd have some overlap transition period where I pick up with that person before they leave and then hand off when they come back.
Now, your service isn't free. I'm assuming that's that would be crazy. How do you price it? Is it by the organization? Or
I really like to find out what their needs are. How much time are we looking at? Also, what is the structure of the organization? I've worked with nonprofits who have, 50 employees and nonprofits that are 3 employees. So is there a junior marketing person that I'm going to be supervising? Do I need to bring my team? I also work with, graphic designers, video people. I can bring that with me. And so how much of those resources are you going to be using? So I like to sit down with folks, find out, honestly, what's your budget? We could always work something out. It's going to be based on time and what type of deliverables you need. And there's always going to be people. I just onboarded a new client, and it's always a what if. Well, what if we go out of scope? I don't want to be in debt because we went out of scope. Yeah. I always work with people. Before starting my business, I worked in nonprofit communications and marketing for 15 years. So I've been on the other side, and I know how strapped budgets are, especially marketing budgets. They're always the first to be cut, to be downsized. So I understand, and I want to be as helpful as possible. So I always work with people, give me what you're looking for, and I can tell you what we can do and how much time it's going to take, and really help set those expectations. And sometimes it's also working with the CEO who then needs to go back and explain that to the board.
Because it might have
unrealistic expectations of what can happen in a short amount of time. Yeah. And I like to equip the CEO with, or the executive director with, any and all information to help you do your job better.
Because as a nonprofit founder and CEO, boards can be very difficult sometimes.
Yes.
But understanding that they are in there, most of them, for the benefit of the nonprofit. They are the gatekeepers to everything. So yes. Have you ever had to go in, I'm sure you have, to talk to a board yourself and say, hey, listen, this is what I do, and I think it will benefit you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I often find that boards like to see what other nonprofits have done. So I'll often come in with evidence from other organizations that I've worked with, whether it's realistic budgets based on the organization size and who they're serving, to what you can expect in event growth, or what you can expect here based on, again, similar organizations of similar size. Because you always have the board member who's finds this random nonprofit that has, budget 5 times the size of yours, and why aren't we doing this?
Oh, my board then. My board of directors.
Right?
Gee, that's what a small world.
Why aren't we in the New York Times every week? You have to kind of bring people down to reality sometimes, and by showing, basically the proof is in the pudding. This is what I'm seeing in other organizations. I give them the name of the organization. Here, if you want to call the executive director yourself, you can.
Call VetCents.
Yeah, the nonprofits is a great community because we do work together so much, and so I can connect you with a nonprofit in another state that's doing the same thing, that's running into the same challenges, so that you can talk about how these solutions work for you. So I always try to bring, equip the executive director, CEO. I'll sit in on a board meeting. I'll give my perspective, and I'll come with the data and the evidence. So it's, again, not just my opinion. I'm showing you what's really happening in the market.
And budget is always a big deal with the board. It seems to be the number one
thing
with the board. So what about for, say, the nonprofit is going for a big fundraiser? Now, I know there's a difference between what you do and what fundraisers do. Mm-hmm. There's a specific role for them. Have they ever kind of crossed over to you like, hey, we're having this, can you help us with this?
Yeah, there's definitely a blurred line between the development position or department and what I do, and rightfully so. We should work together. So right. That's one of the first questions I ask when I'm in the interview process or working through an RFP is, what is the fundraising department setup? If we don't have anyone who's going out to make the ask, then any materials and things I do it's just going to sit there. We need that staffing and that direction. But definitely I work together. I'm working with an organization right now. They have a fractional development person. So again, it's a small organization. They only have about 5 employees. So I'm fractional. The development person is fractional. And we have an event coming up in September. And so we're working very closely. She's going out and making the asks. I'm doing all the marketing materials for the event. There is an event committee of volunteers, so there is some support there. But we're in lockstep on what is our message out to the public, to potential sponsors, to people we want to attend the event. And I'm equipping her with all the materials and items that she needs to go out and secure those sponsorships. So it's definitely a partnership.
And you go in with a kind of a contract situation? Like
Yes.
From this point to this point, and then...
Yeah, and want to make it as seamless as possible. So if there needs to be a transition, I was working with a nonprofit in Florida, and I knew from the beginning, because I was working with an interim CEO, that I would be eventually hiring the person that would take this role on full time. They wanted to bring somebody on full time, but they wanted to go through a thoughtful process to hire somebody. So I worked with them for about 6 months on a fractional basis, and I eventually hired the person that now works there full time. So there was, a definite transition, and there was a definite end. When I signed the contract, I knew it would be 6 months, and it was, give or take a month or so. We were right around there when we were able to get the person hired. But there's always a contractual arrangement. I know what I'm getting into, and I want the nonprofit to be clear on, how often I'm there and for how long.
Gotcha. What are the signs that a nonprofit's marketing is broken? Got to be blunt with you.
Oh, wow. How long do you have? No.
It's a podcast. I can do the Joe Rogan style, or we can go on.
Oh,
It's the Wild West.
It's almost, that broken is one way to describe things. There's also people who just don't do anything.
Right.
They've survived for so long on the generosity of maybe a handful of donors, and now those people have either, turned their support elsewhere, or they want to do more things and they can't because they are limited by their budget. And it's like, oh, well, maybe we should do some marketing. So a lot of times when I come in, they haven't really done anything. And it's not that it's broken. It just never started. They didn't know where to begin. And so we're really building from the ground up. Other organizations, the marketing has been, a person hitting play on something once a week, and it's just never changed. And it's not evolving with the marketplace. It's not evolving with what donors want. And they need somebody with fresh eyes to come in and say, here are some recommendations. A lot of times it's, especially no offense, founder-led nonprofits. Yeah. They have the blinders on, and it's hard for them to see how their organization is being received in the public. And
Scott, did we just get called out?
Yeah, I'm the host. I'm not here to argue, but
it's their baby. Understandable.
You're right. So let me ask you this. On that note, how many founders have you come across that are or have been afraid to grow? Like, I'm good with this, but I need a little more, but I'm really good with that now. Yeah. Like,
I'll bring you in for something really specific, and then we'll have the conversation of, have you ever thought about this or doing this? And there's a lot of hesitancy, for sure. I would say the biggest problem with founder-led organizations is that they want to grow, but it's hard to let go to let that growth happen.
Yeah.
And change is hard. Change is hard for everyone. And so that process can take longer, I have found, with founder-led organizations than with other organizations.
So my situation was probably the opposite of that. Like, I was go, 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 go. And my board was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, that's a lot. You're doing it. And what I do does not really need a lot of people. It's me basically dealing with the veterans and putting my time in. But I had this and that with the VA and this and that, and they were like, yo, time out. Like, that's too much.
Too many irons in the fire.
It's too much. Yeah, you're gonna burn out. You got to slow down. You have all the right ideas. So how do you deal with a founder like me that's like, okay, how about if we keep doing this? And did you ever run into somebody like, you really got to just calm down a little?
Yeah, it's about prioritizing what will have the most ROI
Right. Okay.
in that amount of time.
Right.
I mean, I could give you a laundry list of things that we could do.
Yeah.
Again, you don't have the budget and you don't have the manpower.
Yes. Yeah.
So let's prioritize what's going to have the most impact in the shortest amount of time. So a lot of times I will help people weed through that wish list,
Right.
and there'll always be the, executive director that comes up with these random thoughts, what if we did this? And I love your thought. Let's pin this for when, 6 months when we have more budget and more time, because this is not going to move the needle as much as these 5 other things that we're doing.
So you're really, really good at dealing with multiple types of personalities. That's what I gather from all of that. You're really good at dealing with multiple types of
multiple personalities, and in many ways, it's therapy for all of us.
How can a nonprofit get in touch with you?
They can reach out to me. My website is just on the screen, sokinfluencerpr.com. And my email is just Andrea@sokinfluencerpr.com. Again, also free consultation. Storytelling is my passion. I know it's your passion as well. Yeah. I love just to sit down with folks, do a quick Zoom like this, tell me your story. We can always walk away with a few things that you can do right from the get-go, whether we work together or not. That's
interesting because my fundraisers, I'm a very young nonprofit. And my fundraisers are based on veteran storytelling events, right? And it's very hard to sell that. It's not dynamic. It's not like a big 5K or a golf tournament or, something like that. I've found that those are things that are hard to get people to go to because storytelling is so underrated in everything we do. We tell stories every day, and I don't want to start going down that rabbit hole because my viewers know I will not shut up about that. But storytelling is extremely important. Now, how important? So you always hear these nonprofits, tell them your story. Your story will sell. Tell them your story. How true is that? Like, how often does that really, like an effective story, how far does it go, I should ask?
It depends on how it's packaged. So I would say everyone has a story to tell. Yeah. Any organization that I've worked with, even if I've come in and they say, our business or our nonprofit is just, we have no stories. Like, let's just throw the data at them. Everyone has a story to tell. But because of the way our society is set up now, and you're just being inundated from every angle, you have to really be careful about how you tell that story. And we want to look at, again, who your donors are, your potential donors, your potential supporters. How do they want to receive that story? Is it an intimate in-person gathering? Is it a video that's shared on social media? Is it an email? Who's doing the storytelling? We can take one story and package it 10 different ways. So really thinking through, how do we want to tell that story, and what is the method and the delivery, and we might need to try a couple different things before something really resonates with people.
Right. Now I was going to transition into Blake, but
I know we lost Blake.
Seems to have disappeared. So let's kind of start that transition now. Then, so you met Blake through what you do with vets.
Yes. So I have like I said, I have a background in working with nonprofits. Several of them have been large military support organizations. So very familiar with the community. And I started working with Blake at LifeSense with his business. And what I love about LifeSense is it's definitely a mission-driven company. And VetCents is one aspect, but he works with a lot of nonprofits as well, and really knows how to work down into the specific audience and what their issues are and the problems are. And speak of the devil, he's back.
And he's back. He sent me an email. I'm coming back!
Sorry about that.
Exclamation point. I love that. I'm coming back.
I love technology.
Where I was
I was thinking, I go, I don't know what just happened. I told him I was going to talk to Andrea first. Maybe I should have talked to Blake first.
I was like, I thought
We're all good, buddy.
that's a
We're all
wrap. I was
good.
like, I had to grab lunch.
She's still in the show.
she's still talking so much.
She's
That's probably
still
what he thinks
talking.
about every time we have our meeting. Stop
Day
talking.
one, she's still talking. So Blake, I was just talking to Andrea, not Allison, right? Andrea, about how you two met and how this came about. I was kind of I'm always pleasantly surprised when they say, "Hey, I have somebody else that we can bring on," and Andrea wanted to bring you on. So, and I think he's frozen. He's got the big
I am
permanent
frozen.
smile on. He's frozen.
Well, we can hear you.
We can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, I apologize. I don't know what the tech issues are today.
Not a problem.
There we go. There we go.
There we go. All right.
Okay, I'm back.
So basically, I finished saying how you're my favorite clients, and then
That's exactly what she said. Yes.
and you work with
I'm
so
going to watch
many.
this recording, Andrea.
Yeah, this in perpetuity, and that LifeSense works with so many nonprofits. So we,
Yeah.
I basically teed up that your mission-driven business model, but we didn't talk about VetCense yet. So we relaunched VetCense a couple years ago, but really Blake is the brainchild, the mastermind. I'm here just to support him, but he is the mastermind behind VetCense and all the great things it's doing for the veterinary community. So I'll let you speak now, Blake.
Yeah. So first off, let's hear how you started LifeSense, because that's the origin of VetCense, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So, and again, I apologize for the choppiness on this video, but so I started LifeSense 21 years ago. I had done a lot of work in the financial services community. I lived abroad, worked abroad in Germany and Istanbul, Turkey. Across here in the U.S., I think there was a lot of innovation in financial services. New products were coming to market to presumably help consumers do better with their money. But what I saw consistently, did not matter how much innovation there was in the financial services space, consumers' baseline knowledge never changed. And so, people's understanding of how money works never changed. So it did not matter how innovative financial services companies were or the products they brought to market. If people didn't understand the basics, all this advanced stuff wasn't going to help. And so, long story short, I felt like there was a need to help people improve their financial well-being, to help them make better decisions, to understand things in a different way, to develop the skills, and then all those things for the purposes of reaching their goals, and also helping them identify goals. Because it's kind of hard to, if you don't know where you're going, any direction is going to do, I guess, according to the rabbit in Alice in Wonderland. Is that right?
Yep.
So.
Yep.
So I just, and also I saw how at the time, 21 years ago, this idea of financial health and wellness did not really exist. It was all around financial literacy. And I'm like, well, that's great. But when you're measuring financial literacy and financial education by, pardon the expression, but butts and seats, how many people show up for a seminar? You have an hour-long presentation, and somebody from a bank is going to come in their coat and tie in a community that, they may not fully understand what needs are. And they put up a PowerPoint. In an hour, they go through budgeting and debt management and credit score and retirement and insurance and buying a home, all within an hour. And people walk away and they're like, oh, that was interesting. But then there's no outcomes. There's no follow-up. There's no impact. And so I just saw there was this huge gap in meeting people where they are, providing people with personalized experiences, providing a scalable approach. And that's where, there wasn't really any technology serving this market at the time. And I'm not a technologist, but I had an idea. LifeSense was born. And 21 years later, here we are. And ironically, today we're literally launching the largest release of the updated product since the original launch. So and we've had a lot of iterations over the past, 15, 20 years, but this is by far the biggest leap we've taken between versions. But where we are now is we have, what is LifeSense? Maybe I can answer that question too. Right. So we now have this online web-based app that allows people to come in and get personalized, basically a digital financial coach, a personalized financial guidance. We're not providing advice, we're not selling products, but we're helping meet people where they are. And even a better analogy is we are a primary care physician for financial health. So much like we go to our doctors for our physical health, and there are certain underlying metrics, what's your weight, what's your height, what's your BMI, blood pressure, heart rate, etc. There are equivalent baseline metrics that we need to know about someone's financial health. But then also you might go into your doctor with symptoms and be like, I have chest pains. Well, that doctor is going to want to ask enough questions to know if that's heartburn or a heart attack. Because
I
then what
said, I have checkbook pain, right? That's the equivalent.
Well, interestingly, the number one cause of stress are financial issues.
Yes.
Number one cause of health issues is stress. So if we solve financial issues, you reduce financial stress, reducing stress, which is helping physical health, reduces rates of divorce. Unfortunately, in the military community, veterans have a very high rate of suicide, largely stemming from financial stress. Yeah. So this is a super important issue for everybody, but probably more so for veterans and in the military community.
So let's transition into that. What is your connection to the veteran world?
So I grew up in Virginia Beach, Virginia, right next door to Norfolk Naval, the Norfolk Naval Base. My biological father was a naval aviator, flew 20 plus years, A6 intruder, more hours in an A6 than anybody else. So pretty cool stat there. But my parents did divorce when I was young. Still, all my friends, neighbors, the community was all, military community. So kind of born and raised. So it's always been near and dear to my heart, So, and I've also seen both sides of the equation in terms of, what it looks like for, single parents, with kids in the military community, and, or a spouse is deployed and it feels like people are single for long periods of time. And so it just, veterans, service members, families, neighbors, it's always been part of my life.
So that's when, how did VetCents come about? What was the mindset? What was the mission, and how was it implemented?
So if we take kind of what I rambled on about LifeSense in terms of how we're that primary care physician and we're helping people get that personalized guidance, I saw also that there was a huge gap in helping veterans in the military community. And so Matt Carey, wonderful gentleman that was the former director of the Washington, D.C. Office of Veterans Affairs. I was introduced to him and we put our heads together and came up with this idea of expanding LifeSense to have a veteran focused. And so we co-created the content and the user experience for veterans, through partnerships, DCOVA being one. But really, so when someone goes into LifeSense, it is tailored for the veteran and military community, because we are trying to raise awareness and say, look, there are a lot of benefits, a lot of programs available to you that you may not be aware of. But we first have to do that diagnostic like the doctor does before we refer you to that specialist, which are those programs and services and benefits.
So that's a little difficult, I would assume, because a lot of people avoid looking at their finances, avoid addressing their finances. Yep. It's just, it's an amazing thing that people just, I don't want to see it. Like I'm guilty of it in a certain sense. I don't want the receipt when I go to the ATM. I don't want to look at my balance,
Right.
like it's on even the lowest level, right? So getting somebody to do this it's a big jump for them, right?
It can be, for sure.
Yeah, and so okay, hopefully they're ready to address it at that point. Now I see there's a 5-minute assessment.
Yeah, so we start we start off with an initial assessment because we want a baseline to understand who someone is. We don't want this to be prescriptive. We don't want this to be one size fits all. So we need to know something about you. And so we have that very brief initial assessment that then allows us to start personalizing the experience. But I think what happens is people see that, like, hey, this really is meant for me. They really understand me. And so they will continue to use it because they are getting value. And we are very big, if you're going to spend even 5 minutes with us, we're going to want to return value to you versus just asking you a bunch of questions. And so there's a lot of ways we can do that through the user experience, but also, are we tying this, to access to some type of benefit that you didn't know about that's going to save you money or help you get out of debt or put yourself or your family through school? I mean, there's, again, Scott, that the benefits available to the military community are tremendous.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know what they are or how to access them or what's relevant to them. And that's part of what we're trying to do is that awareness, awakening people and be like, oh, and then giving people a sense that they are making progress towards something. It's every small step, every journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step. And I think that we let people get that sense of success in very small steps, and then that builds momentum.
So veterans, my people, we can be very skeptical about these things. Veterans, now, I'm just going to say this. I'm going to pull the curtain back a little bit. Yeah, we did what we did, and 99% of us are proud of what we did, and there's a lot of us don't talk about what we did, but as a group, the general view of veterans is we're all nice people, we're all patriotic, we served our country. There's a lot of hard-nosed veterans in there. There's a lot of skeptical veterans. There's a lot of businesses that prey on veterans. I can give you 100 stories, Andrea, of veterans that thought, and I did this, and then all of a sudden, there's the bait and switch on them. Yeah. So I know for a fact the community can be very skeptical. And you mentioned that you have the app, right? So what would a veteran look at that's different in your app than in maybe something else's that makes it more like, I know, like you said, I know this is for me?
Yeah. So I think, first of all, and look, what you're saying is absolutely true. Yeah. And that trust factor is a huge barrier. So typically veterans are accessing VetCents through a known entity. So an organization they're already working with. And I also think that it helps with VetCents for people to know that this is something that has been developed in collaboration with the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, where they are a partner to this program. Yeah. American Bankers Association is a very credible national organization as part of this. If people are familiar with AFCs, the accredited financial counselors, we're working with AFCs who are providing financial counseling for free. And I think what's interesting about this is no participant, no user, no veteran, no family member, no one who accesses that program ever pays a penny to access this, and there is no way that we monetize participation. It's just not part of the model. So we are getting funding from foundations and grants and things like that to support this. So that is how we are able to support the program. We're not making money off individuals, and we never.
That's the thing right there. Yeah. Bingo, you hit it.
Never have, never will, never want to.
Good, because that's what happens.
Correct.
We'll take you so far, and then it's like, okay, now it's going to be like a monthly fee, a subscription, or a one-time payment, or
No.
you know, we get a percentage of blah blah blah. They're everywhere.
Yeah, and look, our goal is to provide people with a trusted destination that they can come back to when they need to. We don't go to our primary care physician every day, every week. We go when we need to. So we provide a destination and an experience that's private, that's secure, that people can come back, get the guidance that they need, and we point them to trusted, vetted, validated resources. We really aren't ever pointing people to, you know, commercial products. It's really, here are the benefits offered by the U.S. government that you should be aware of. It's just, if people aren't aware of them, it does them no good. And that's also kind of takes me back to how we came to work with Andrea, which is, I think that we always hear that, you know, we're the best program that no one's ever heard of. And I'm like, well, that doesn't help anyone if no one's ever heard of us. And so we needed that marketing oomph, that expertise to get visibility on this program. And, you know, look, we see great outcomes with participants. You know, I'm not saying we're serving millions of people, and I would love to serve millions of people, but what I'm more interested in is having an impact on the people that we serve.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's quality over quantity. And, you know, so this can scale. We can help 1 million people, but we need to, you know, 1 million people need to hear about it and everything like that and sign up. But I think at the end of the day, I want someone to come through the program, and when they finish their first session, they're like, I'm glad I did that. And I want, and I need to come back, and I'm going to do that because I got value out of it. That's all.
I am a huge fan of quality over quantity.
100%.
Absolutely. You mentioned the American Bankers Association. Is that what it is?
Yeah. So
they're
they're a advocacy group that really represents banks and you know, around the country. And I mentioned them because I think they're a very trusted, venerable organization with you know, they've been around for forever, and they do good work, and they support a lot of good programs, and they have been a very generous partner to this initiative. And again, I'm mentioning them because they're another kind of point of reference, like the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, that I think lends credibility that this is not, you know, Joe's house of.
yeah.
Right.
You're not some run of the mill. So, all right, I'm going to ask you an interesting question here. What was the process? And I love the VA. A lot of everybody, I'll tell everybody, they have their faults. There is no doubt about it. They are a gigantic ship, and turning that ship sometimes takes a while, but they did a big turn from the first time I went back in 2001 to the time I went back, you know, 18 years later, and it was a huge turnaround. Now, I deal a little bit with the VA in West Palm Beach with my nonprofit. What was your process getting to partner with the VA?
So this is where the power of partnerships is important.
Yeah.
So our original point of contact for this program, excuse me, was an organization called AMBA, the American Military Banks of America. So they're a policy advocacy group for banks and credit unions that are serving the military community. So they actually are responsible for administering what's known as the Veterans Benefit Banking Program, VBBP. So that is a program that over the past 4 or 5 years has helped more than 500,000 veterans sign up for a bank account at a credible bank or credit union. And the importance of that is the VA at some point is going to stop writing physical checks for military benefits and stipends. And so as a veteran, if you don't have a bank account with direct deposit, you're not going to get your money. So that program was a great success. And through, you know, a collaborative approach, a public-private partnership, there was recognition that, hey, this is a great touch point. If these veterans are coming in to get a bank account, there are probably other needs around their personal finances that are not being touched. So we were then pulled in as part of this collaborative to provide that, the VetCents piece. And then another piece that was added is the financial counseling. So in some ways, I'm going to say this with a smile on my face, in some ways we were fortunate not to have to work directly with the VA in terms of navigating.
Oh, you're right.
Right?
You're right.
But I think that also speaks to the value of public-private partnerships and collaborative approaches, because there's not a single organization that is going to be able to tackle this problem and make progress. And so it takes people coming together, organizations coming together to solve a problem collectively. And I think that's what we're seeing with the VetCents program. And so now we're also working with a fantastic organization, AWP, America's Warrior Partnership, and they have direct services to veterans. And so now as part of what they are making available to the veterans they serve is now the VetCents piece. And now what we're able to also provide through VetCents is look at all these great services being provided by AWP. So again, the more people that come together with a shared mission, the more we can, tackle this problem and make real progress.
So you're a nonprofit, and I always ask nonprofits this question: do you have any particular story, back to Andrea, that stands out, like a success story for a veteran or a family member of a veteran or a veteran's family through VetCents?
Yeah, so actually, kind of a lot. I'll go back to the earliest days, and I remember it was a veteran that we were working with in Washington, D.C., and he was engaged to be married, and he and his fiance were eager to buy a home. And they went through the online experience, and we were able to identify that they had a little bit more debt than they should. Their credit score wasn't where it needed to be, and so we were able to work with them not only through the online experience, but connect them to a counselor. And what happened is they delayed buying the home. In that time, they were able to pay down their debt, they were able to save more, and then they improved their credit score. And that was the big one, by the way, because by improving their credit score, they got a much better rate on their mortgage. And so by the time they bought the home, they were able to put more down for a down payment. Their debt to income ratio was better because they had paid down debt. They got the better rate. So they saved tens of thousands of dollars, thousands of dollars up front in terms of fees. And then because the rate was lowered, over the life of that mortgage, they're going to be saving tens of thousands of dollars. So that is, I think, a good example. I can't say that we're having that, impact on everybody at that level, right, but I think we're having impact. I think the other thing, and this kind of, Andrea, you'll have to kick me off my soapbox on this because she knows I'll ramble on. But I think this is where, when people talk about meeting people where they are, we don't have to get everyone buying the home or paying down all their debt or improving their credit score. If I get you to take one step towards doing something better, maybe you've learned something, maybe you've taken one step, maybe you're less stressed, maybe you're more confident. Those are real outcomes that we have to account for. Now, did we?
Oh, there we are.
That's okay. We just missed a couple words. There we go. That was Andrea kicking you off your soapbox.
I know, right?
Did you see that hand little switch over to the side?
I was like this, yeah. Yeah. So I will use what I call the marathon analogy, right? So much like we have the doctor, where the primary care physician for financial health, think of a marathon where someone's been sitting on the couch for year after year. And they're like, I'm going to run this marathon. And years slip by and they haven't done anything. But imagine that this is the first year that someone gets off the couch, they sign up for a marathon, they buy running shoes, they set up a training routine, they establish a diet, they start buying better groceries, etc. And normally there's about 10 things I roll through. How many steps has that individual taken towards running a marathon, which is 26.2 miles? 0. But every one of those foundational steps is imperative in order for someone to even take their first step. And that, I think, is what's missing a lot of times with financial education and financial wellness, is we overlook these foundational steps are just that. You cannot have these longer term outcomes, these longer term benefits like running a marathon, until you take care of these things. You can't prepare for a secure retirement until you start saving your first dollar or paying down some debt, freeing up money. So there's just a lot of, so when we look at outcomes, yes, we all want these stories of like, wow, this veteran has saved this much and paid down this much debt and bought a home, and 100% agree those are important. But you know what? All these other steps matter.
So, which absolutely 100%, good prep before you even start the journey,
right,
is really important. It's like going camping and then buying a tent after you're already in the woods for 3 days.
Sounds like you may have done that.
I will not confirm or deny. So let's talk about the toolkit.
Okay.
So what's the whole process, the ease of use for the toolkit, right?
So this is very easy. So anybody can access VetCents at VetCents.org, VetCents.org. And all you do is you need to provide your name and an email address, and then you are in. And then you experience this as much or as little as you like. So you go in, and obviously we want to start with that initial intake survey, get some baseline information, and then the more you interact with the platform, the more questions you answer, the more we know about you, and the better recommendations we can make. And again, this is all private and secure. No one has access to this information. It's not being shared. The only reason we're asking questions is the same reason when you go to a doctor. The doctor has to ask questions to know what's going on about your health in order to make recommendations, prescribe medicines, or refer you to a specialist. It's no different, but it's done in the privacy of an app that you can access on your computer, on your phone, on your tablet. It's that easy.
So when you go to VetCents.org on your laptop or your desktop, where is the app? Can you get the app through the Google Play or the App Store, the iPhone App Store, or?
So you access it through the URL. So it's a web-based app. So you're going to always going to go to the website. And then we do that because it gives us a lot more ability to customize. There's a lot of technical reasons we do that, but it also reduces that barrier that you have another app you have to download. You just go here and you log back in. Gotcha.
So what is the use of it? As far as the, how can I say, hits, is it get a lot of, is it always running? Like, are there people that, like, how many hits have you had, like, in a month? Does it popular, you know what I mean?
I mean, so again, we go for quality over quantity, but we have several 100,000. I'll talk about LifeSense broadly, which is inclusive of VetCents, but we have hundreds of thousands of users, and we're adding thousands every month. Just last, Andrea, I think you can correct me, I think it was last fall, one day through one of our partners, we had 20,000 people sign up in one day. That obviously is, an extraordinary day, but we've had bumps like that, and certainly, fewer. But again, I think the way we look at this is, we want to work with organizations that are serving veterans, and this becomes part of their service model, their delivery model of what they make available as part of their overall package. But again, I mean, people listening, veterans listening to this can go directly to VetCents and benefit in the same ways. But we're tending to go through organizations that have, they're already working with veterans. So again, that's another layer of trust built into the process. So rather than it's like, hey, go check out VetCents, and then people have to listen to me ramble on to be like, here's the credibility behind it.
So two-prong approach in that any of the veterans listening to your podcast can go and access today. But if there are any nonprofit organizations that work with veterans, we'd love to work with you too.
Yeah,
So
well said. See, that's why she is the marketing.
There you go. See, she's earning her money right there.
Sure, I mean,
good answer, Andy. Good answer.
So definitely, I mean, we want to hear from everyone. So, if you work with if you're a nonprofit that works with veterans, reach out to us, and, Blake could go through a deeper dive demo, or we can go more into the weeds if you want to go there. But the goal, we want to reach as many people as possible. This is a free resource for people.
That's the key. That it's free. Yes.
It's
with no gotchas. Going back,
with
right?
no gotchas.
There are no gotchas on this, and that's just fact.
Yeah.
So, how do you take into consideration, or how do you factor in? How do you deal with, like, my cost of living here in South Florida is more than a veteran in Montana, say, like, rural Montana.
Yeah.
How do you balance that? It's because it's not a one size fits all, right?
Correct. So I think the important thing is our model, going back, we're a behavioral based model. So what we want to understand, when you ask somebody how much debt they have, you even mentioned before, it's like, you don't even want to look at your ATM receipts. Like there's, so what we don't want to do is, we're not trying to solve the problem of helping people get better with money by talking about money in traditional sense, the traditional sense. Because here's an example: maybe you have $5,000 in debt, and Andrea has $5,000 in debt. Now, is that a lot of debt? Well, it depends on who you are.
Yeah.
What really matters is, do you feel like you have too much debt? And you might say no, and Andrea might say yes. That's what matters. And then later on, maybe you're working with a coach or a counselor, they can bubble up the fact that you each have $5,000 in debt. But what really matters is, what is the pain point for you? I have too much debt. I have too little savings. Well, is that because I have $50 saved, or it's because I have, $5,000 saved? It is how these things land on people that matter. And that's the behavioral finance part of this. So again, this is not to, we don't need to know specifics like that to be able to provide the right guidance and the right support. And I think that's also where people find this to be a very comforting experience, because they're not having to be like, oh, okay, do I have 5,000 or 7,000 or this or that's, just thinking about it. It's like, well, how many credit cards, what's the balance on each? And
it's overwhelming.
It's overwhelming. And so just let's have a conversation. And that's how the experience is. It's a chat, it is a chat experience where it's like, answer some questions, get some feedback. You get a very cool, one of the things we've updated is you'll get this cool coach's report. And it's like, here's what we know about you. And then here's what you need to know, kind of like a learning plan. And here are the steps you can take, action plan. And then here are the connections, the resources, the partners, the programs that you can reach out to help you. It's all right there, topic by topic: pay down debt, improve my credit score, build emergency savings, whatever it is. It's just, this is meant to kind of simplify helping people navigate money, because it's hard.
So opening up conversations that people don't have, that people don't feel comfortable having these conversations. This is an opportunity for you to have this in a safe environment. And what I also like is that everyone's goals are different. So Blake shared the example of the couple wanting to buy a home. I may be in a different stage, or you may be in a different stage, and your goals are going to be different. And so it's not going to be like, you've done those work calculators before where they just throw retirement information at you. And, if you're not thinking about retirement, I don't want to know about that. These are my goals. This is where I want to be. And so it's very much customized to you and your situation without making you feel bad. I think that's the other thing too, is that there's so much advice out there that just makes you feel, compares you to somebody else, and it just makes you feel bad.
Right. Yeah.
And it's there's so many people ask, how am I doing? Or can I retire on $1 million? And I'm like, well, if you're Jeff Bezos, you couldn't fill up your super yacht with $1 million. So no, $1 million is not I'm not trying to be cheeky about it, but the reality is this is where, when people say, how am I doing? It's like, well, we need to know a little bit more. How much money are you going to need to have for a specific goal? Whether it's how much money do you need? How big of a house are you going to buy? What do you want your retirement to look like? And so there is no single answer that will answer that question for everyone, because it is so personal. This is called personal finance because it is personal, right? And so I think that's something as well where one of the worst things people can do is compare themselves to other people, and be like, oh my gosh, it's like I'm so far behind. No. What you see on social media are the best versions of people, living their best life, and it's not real.
No.
But that's creating a lot of anxiety. A lot of people are depressed because they look at social media and like, oh my gosh, everyone is a millionaire and I'm not. I'm like, not true.
So can organizations, like nonprofit organizations, use this toolkit to help veterans that they're helping?
100%. That is an ideal model where, if, again, to Andrea's point, if there are other nonprofits listening to this and want to learn, you can access it now for sure. But what we really like to do is implement a version for your organization, so you can actually access, get the insights of how you are helping the people you're serving. So 100%.
If an organization is dealing with the veteran and they find out that this veteran is in they are in a financial crisis, like they're about to be evicted, does the toolkit offer an emergency exit, like a way to elevate this particular person to get them, however it works, more help?
Yeah. So great. That's a great question. And so there is a pathway, which is like, I'm in crisis, and that's going to have a special set of resources that the veterans can access.
Okay.
For sure. But also when we work with individual, let's say we're working with a nonprofit that's working with veterans, we also want to know what, just like America's Warrior Partnership, they have existing programs and services that we can point people back to. So if we're working with a nonprofit serving veterans, then maybe they have specific resources that can help them if someone's in crisis. So we always wanted to make sure we are highlighting what that nonprofit is doing for the veterans they're working with.
Excellent. If there's any nonprofits out there that find this tool could be very helpful, Blake, it's vetsense.org.
That's right. VETCENTS. That's right.
CENTS, yes. And that could go for a veteran also. Just a regular veteran wants to get their shit together.
100%.
Excellent. Andrea, once again, if a nonprofit would like to use your magical abilities, as Blake will attest to.
100%.
Yes. How would they get in touch with you, Andrea?
They can, if they go to my website, it's sokinfluencerpr.com. There's a button to get connected, and we can do a consult.
All right. So I say this every episode where I interview a nonprofit. And although this one feels a little different because you're like somewhat of a financial nonprofit, right? Although you don't give money, you deal with money, and you deal with helping people with their money. But I always say this. Is there a donate button anywhere on your website, Blake? Or what if somebody wanted to donate to VetCents? How would they do that?
So we have a fiscal sponsor called the Greater Washington Community Foundation, and it is programmed there. I'd be happy to follow up and give you that link, and obviously would appreciate that support. Quite honestly, I'm equally interested in the nonprofit organizations that are working with veterans where we can collaborate and work together. That'd be my first start.
Because I always tell the audience, if you like what they're doing, give them your money. That's an order. And I always say that. I don't care who I interview. If there's somebody out there that loves what you're doing, I always say, if you love it, give them your money. I would like to have their money too, but I don't do that. That's a conflict of interest with the podcast. I try to have some ethical boundaries with my nonprofit and my podcast, although they tend to slip sometimes. First, Andrea, is there anything we forgot to talk about that you want to touch on?
I would just say, share your story. I mean, there's no right or wrong way to get started. Just do it, and you'll figure it out along the way. But definitely share your story. And
you'll be amazed at the reactions, the responses, and the love that you'll get from your story. Mm-hmm. I can attest to that. That's a whole story in itself. Blake, is there anything we forgot about VetCents that you might want to touch on?
I think that we all together have a big problem to solve in supporting our veterans in this kind of work, and I welcome the collaboration and people reaching out where we can work together to reach more veterans.
And it's free, people. It's free. This is no obligation. It's free. You cannot turn that down. What do you got to lose? You have zero to lose. Mm-hmm. if you might even be slightly thinking about your financial situation. Go to VetsCents.org and just check it out. You have nothing to lose. You get a free assessment. You'll get it all. It's all there for you for free. And like Blake said, and I believe him when he said, there is no gotcha down the road. There is zero gotcha down the road.
No,
it's not something like the bait and switch when you're 2 weeks in and by the way, if you want to give us this, then you can get that. None of that. None of that.
None. No, sir. No, sir.
And if I didn't believe you, I would say, let me know, and I will let everybody know.
Yeah. 100%.
Guys, thank you so much for coming on. This was a great interview. I came into this one with, like I said, I was like, I don't know if I can handle this one just basically on my own. I had to do a little research, but I think it came out great. I appreciate your time. I know you're both very busy, and thanks again for coming on. And Blake, maybe 8 months down the road, or Andrea, we can do a comeback on and see how things have been.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Wonderful.
Great. So just hold on. I'll do my outro and then stick around. The audience is used to hearing that. Well, we built another bridge. We built two bridges today. We built a nonprofit bridge and a very interesting one in the fact that I did not know what a nonprofit fractional CMO was, but now I do. And I can act like I know things now, right, in the nonprofit world. And Blake and being the founder of VetCents, it's free. It helps veterans, and anything that's free and helps veterans is okay in my book. And check them out once again, VetCents, CENTS.org. And for the nonprofits, Sok, S-O-K, influencer, PR.com?
Correct.
.com. See, there you go. I knew that. And again, if you liked this, share it. If you didn't like it, well, thanks for watching and listening for an hour and 3 minutes. I appreciate your time. And you will hear me and see me again next week.